Here we go. This is gonna be the F word. It's gonna be fun. So get ready to learn something useful. So I'm Mr. Ray, the teacher. Feel free to check out my other social media. It's coming up here. Here we are, Society and Culture, or if you're in college, uni, or learning this, Sociology and Anthropology. Topic will be the concepts. So this is specific to society and culture if you are studying it in Australia, New South Wales, and they are the key terms. So also remember making the strange mundane and the mundane strange. That's adapted from C. Wright Mills, all about sociology. Feel free to check out my other videos. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, click that bell icon for notifications when we put out new videos. Also, don't forget, you can check out my Patreon to spread the love if this helps you out big time. So, welcome to Society and Culture. It leads on to Sociology and Anthropology if you want to take this up in tertiary study. It's great, it's interesting. You'll look at the world in a different way. Believe me, I love this subject. Okay, so we start off with the key terms, the fundamental concepts diagram. It's the most critical thing in the whole subject. You're going to be taking this through with you even throughout the whole of 11th grade and 12th grade. It's the basis of the whole course. And as you'll see, all the concepts are interrelated. So we start off with culture. Then we've got society. See how they mix? Persons. Look at the interactions. Then we've got the environment. So I'm just going to bring out the laser here because we've got culture. See how it mixes here with the society, mixes within persons, all within the environment, and it's all taking place across the scope of time. Alrighty. So here are our key terms. Society, it's made up of people, groups, networks, institutions, organizations, can be on a local, then you zoom out, national, zoom out, regional, zoom out, international level. Then you got culture, and that refers to sharing of attitudes and behaviors that make each society different. Persons, everyone's a unique individual. We don't mean for you to be a special snowflake about it, but yeah, we're all different, makes us who we are. And with that, we are influenced by the world around us. Also, there's the environment. Speaking of the world around us, it's the immediate physical setting where a society interacts with its environment. It could be urban, coastal, rural, inland. Each has its opportunities and constraints. Long story short, why is someone who's from a really cold place, say like around the north of Canada, say, like the Eskimos, Alaska, per se, why would they be different to, say, people that are down in the deserts in Africa? The environment. Think about it. And time. All these concepts are located in a period of time which is always changing. The past, the present, which is now, and the future. And this relates to continuity and change, another important concept. So additional concepts. So just going to run through them in no particular order. Power is the ability to influence or persuade others to a point of view or action which they may not always agree. Exercising power is important in initiating or preventing change. So look at these guys. Bang. Viva la Diffusion. So authority is linked to power and the right to make decisions and determine, adjudicate, or settle issues and disputes in society. Authority is best understood as the legitimate use of power. So the use of authority is important in the process of decision making and initiating change and maintaining continuity. So here are the police. Oh, we can shoot you if you don't obey us. No, viva la revolution. Let's see how that'll turn out. Additional concepts. Furthermore, gender. Gender refers to socially constructed differences between males and females, females and males. Yep. So social life, including life, family, roles, work, behavior, and other activities, is organized around the dimensions of this difference. It also refers to cultural ideals, identities, and stereotypes of masculinity and femininity. So what is it to be a man? What is it to be a woman? Identity refers to the sense of self and can be viewed from a personal, social, and cultural level. Identity is formed over a period of time and is the result of interactions at the micro, meso, and macro levels of society. So the contributing factors to one's identity can include various demographic things, which include gender, sexuality, family, class, ethnicity, beliefs, social status, group membership, and national pride. So that's just taken from the syllabus, adapted. So, one thing you need to note, and this is really one thing that you can take home with you, gender and sex are not the same. Gender is a social construct. We'll have more on that later in the other videos. You can feel free to check that out. So you can change it by dressing up and acting. Sex is a biological term, and it relates to whether you produce sperm and eggs. So far as his writing, scientific technology has not reached the state where male can ovulate, nor where a female can produce sperm. So you can't change your chromosomes yet either. So furthermore, official forms of ID state your sex, not your gender. Now with regards to chromosomes, so the males are XY, the females are XX. You can cut off your willy, you can grow your hair long, you can put those silicone implants in, you can take your breasts out, you can change all you want. You will change your gender. You can. You can be transgender. But you cannot, at the moment, change your sex. And I'm guessing they're just using the term transsexual loosely. But yeah, can't change your sex yet. So additional concepts, technologies. So these refer to all the tools that we use to assist our interactions in society. Newer technologies can lead to innovation and initiate change to the micro, meso, and macro operation in society. So the value placed on technologies at any level of society influences the rate of change to society and culture. Case in point, Japan, full of technology. Look at Kyoto, temples, beautiful Zen gardens, all the way to Tokyo. And yes, they do sound similar but reversed. That's a lesson in its own. But Tokyo, the neon city. So yeah, what about when you started communicating with letters, or when your grandparents probably communicated? Now using a smartphone. Imagine the future. Then we're going to globalization. There's my spinning globe. It's the process of integration, sharing of goods, capital, labor, services, knowledge, leisure, sport, ideas, and culture between countries. And it's evidence in the emergence of global patterns of consumption and consumerism. So for example, people listening to, say, music like American music all around the world, or now, for example, music from like India, from Japan, from Korea, from Europe. There's many speed metal bands from Sweden. Pretty rocky. Moving on, global sports, so your World Cup, your Olympics, and the spread of world tourism, traveling, and the growth of military and economic systems. So you have your economic powerhouses coming from Asia. I'm just going to use a little feature. Look at this. A lot of economic development coming from India and then from China. Yeah, drew that globe on paint if you wanted to know. And also, globalization is assisted by technologies and media integration, resulting in increased consciousness that the world is a single place. TLDR, which stands for too long to read, globalization is the world becoming a smaller place. I could have written that. Social and cultural literacy, the point of this subject is to teach you that. And you are to learn not to be ethnocentric. That means thinking that your culture is superior to others. So get off your high horse. Check your privilege. Oh, by the way, I'm not an SJW. Here you will synthesize your own personal experience and public knowledge in the micro, meso, and macro levels of society. It refers to the idea that the people should be knowledgeable, understanding, empathetic, as well as respectful about themselves and others when communicating and sharing knowledge about culture. And with that, the world around you can be broken down into many levels. So here we've got this diagram, just taken straight out from the syllabus again. So we do have the micro level. That's your micro world. This world is immediately around you, and the relationships are personal. It includes people in your family, your friends, and people in your community. It's the world right around you, your immediate surroundings. Now we move up to the meso level, spreading it out. These include people in your community. So I see there's a little bit of an overlap there. Then your town, school, workplace, organization. So with that being the case, so your teacher, police officers, for example, the nurse in the hospital if you go there a lot. Alrighty, moving on. The macro level. That's your macro world. These interactions are impersonal and relate to large institutions like the law and government, and they're evident on a national and international scale. So for example, they impact you. So on a micro level, so we're just going to bring back the laser. On the micro level, your parents impact you. When your parents tell you something to do and you've got a personal connection with it, you do it. Or I would hope you would. Or anyone of that thing. So someone close to you if you don't have parents, like someone family. Basically, you would probably take their word for it. Meso level, that's just the middle ground. So when your teacher tells you something, they impact your life. Macro level, the government, you know of the president. You don't know the president in most cases. And if you do know the president or the prime minister, depending on your country, or the leader, or the king, or the queen, or whatever, or the emperor, well, good on you. That can also be, for example, if you're like a rock star, you might not know Bruno Mars. So if you don't know Bruno Mars, he's in your macro level. But say if you're a rock star or musician and you're doing a collaboration with him, and that's your next single coming out, you're recording together, you hang out, you do things, you go out for dinner, drinks and that, your buddies, then in that case, Bruno Mars is in your micro world. That said though, yes, they impact you. Moving on, personal experience, that's what you learn from personal experience. You know, you live life, you gain experience, level up. Public knowledge is general knowledge for everyone from the public domain, and interactions occur between all levels, and interaction is not just one way, but two ways. All right, so how do you fit into society? It's easy. Enculturation, so it's a process whereby an individual learns their group's culture through experience, observation, and instruction. It has to do with socialization and results with assimilation. You need to know those terms. So yeah, it can also apply to one learning their own first culture. And acculturation, that's different. So listen carefully. Enculturation, acculturation. So it's a cultural modification of an individual or group by adapting or borrowing traits from another culture. It can also be a merging of cultures as a result of prolonged contact. It can be seen as learning one's second culture. So say if you were born abroad and now you're living in a new country, and say the cultures are pretty different, but how do you fit in? So for example, if you grew up in China and now you live in Italy, good luck getting by with just Chinese. I was going to say America or Australia, but you could stay in Chinatown and not speak a word of English and you'd be fine. Now, also, acculturation occurs because of cultural diffusion. So, cultural diffusion depends on your accent. This is the spread of cultural beliefs and social activities from one group to another. It's when one culture selectively incorporates the desirable traits of another culture into their own. So remember, culture doesn't necessarily mean what country you're from. So here, this yellow box, this is our own culture, for example, our fabulous culture that we just love so much. It's got a barrier, so maybe barrier to entry. So, for example, if we're going to do like countries, let's say Australia, like there's a lot of water around it. Good luck swimming to Australia. If you're going to do, say, surfing, yeah, that's a good one. Surf. So basically, the barrier to entry is if you don't live near a beach or if you can't surf, you're not part of the crew. Next one is a foreign culture, or foreign culture stuff. So let's use Australia again. Maybe, for example, I don't know, music from Asia. Or if you're like surfing culture, maybe like surfers from Asia or something like that. And some fashion thing that the surfers there down in the Philippines use or in Okinawa. Now, moving on. See that thing? It's like a membrane when you look inside. So I'm just going to bring up the laser here. How does this work? Alrighty. So that went down, disappeared, right? Those things we integrate into our own. So blue and yellow makes green. The best bits we keep into our own culture, and this barrier here blocks everything else out. And it can include groups with a shared identity, such as those from the same religion, surfers, skaters, punks, geeks, musicians, etc., and sports people. So it doesn't necessarily mean we're all the same culture because we're all Indian per se, or we're all from America per se, or we're all from like Peru, or it just means like you belong. So moving on, using terminology is very important, super duper important. It makes our writing sound smarter and conveys a more academic image. The course terminology, meta language, and vocab is also useful as a shortcut as it helps us write more effectively and efficiently. Rather than giving me a long sentence with basic words, we can just cut to the chase and write down that key vocab down, the terminology. Put it in whenever you can, shove it in whenever you can, insert it whenever you can, type it whenever you can. Just use it, use it, use it. For example, instead of the world is all connected and stuff, people from different groups because of technology. That's not gonna cut it. I'm sorry. It's kind of in the right direction, but we really got to work on that. So try this instead. Globalization, which is defined as the world getting smaller and more interconnected, has resulted in an array of positive results for those due to the exchanges in culture we have experienced due to rapid developments in technology. So long story short, what you could be saying casually is like, yeah, because of like the world getting more connected and smaller, like we've got a better world now because we got technology. We can like watch stuff on YouTube and that, like stuff from different countries. But we've made it sound academic. So yeah, don't forget to define course terminology. Pretend the reader doesn't know much. So I might be your teacher, someone else might be sociologists, anthropologists, maybe we know it. But especially if you're doing society and culture, how do we know you know? Just put it in. A good rule of thumb is if it's a complicated term and it's your first time using it in, just give a definition or like just really sum it down. So globalization, we could have put a really long definition, but that's just going to be overkill. Just a quick snippet to prove you know the concept. Alrighty. So pretend again, the reader doesn't know much. It's to keep them in the loop. Now, here we go. There's the terminology, and there it's underlined. So it's not too long. What did you learn today? If that's what somebody asks you, please don't waste a taxpayer dollar if you're a public school student, because here's the answer. The fundamental concepts for society and culture are society, culture, persons, environment, and time. They all work together, they're all interrelated, and they're very important meta language in this subject. So other concepts include, but are not limited to, so these are some other terminological terms: power, authority, gender, identity, and technology. Globalization is the world getting smaller, and the world around us includes our micro world, that's our immediate world, including our family in that. Our meso world, which is our community, it's the kind of one around us, like up to town level, regional level. And the macro world, so that's the big scale of things, the international scale of things. So thanks for watching and your support. Please subscribe and check out my other videos. Spread the word, tell your classmates, friends, and colleagues, and check out my Patreon to spread the kudos and the love. Also, watching the ads helps out heaps too, so if you can watch them through, if you're not using ad blocker, many thanks. If you click or you passed the minimum amount of 30 seconds without clicking that skip button, many thanks. Also, special thanks and shout out to the following. So Sharon Byron and Mr. Panagiotakis, great teachers that teach society and culture. Also Perry Celestino, this terrific trio, they're the heavy hitters in the society and culture world. So they worked heavily on the syllabus, and Perry Celestino was the teacher that named it. So they taught me selective school quality education you've just got right here, straight from me, and even I've worked in one. So hopefully it's of use to you. Good luck and enjoy this subject, and remember, study hard for a bright future. Take care. Bye now.